Lord is calling back his righteous. Prepare the mind, yeah, from American Indian, India, a higher gathering Israel.
Shalom, brothers and sisters. I'm Elder Ricard Shiar here with the Gathering of Christ Church, saying a hearty shalom and blessings to all of our brothers and sisters worldwide. First off, all praises be the Most High God, the God of all exists. Ahaya is his name. And we praise and thank his son for the sacrifice, Yeshua, who died for the sins of Israel and subsequently the world. And also, we thank the Most High for revealing the Holy Spirit, because through that Spirit, the children of Israel is receiving truth. How are you all out there today? Of course, we're not on our main channel. You all know what happened last week. We were showing the similarities between Jim Jones and others antichrists who may come up and harm our people. And out of nowhere, boom, we was hit with a strike, and not a strike actually. They just said we will not be able to view or deal with live streaming for 3 months. Of course, we're fighting that because we have dealt with way more controversial topics than showing Jim Jones. It must be something deep concerning that. Maybe they're going to look to do another Jim Jones type of deal and try to align it with the truth of Israelites soon, probably, I would think. So I want to make sure that we're going to touch on that Jim Jones thing again with pictures, not videos, showing that it was actually a government operation to demonize those who believe in the Bible. And also a slave mechanism was built in so that if slaves thought of leaving off the plantation, automatically there would be a comparison to their CIA agent, Jim Jones. I'm going to make that a topic in the future. We have Shapat. Shalom, how you doing, Shapat?
Doing good.
Okay, great. Let's see here. Let's make sure we have our elders online and waiting. Elder Lawyer, are you with us?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Shalom.
First off, I would like to say shalom.
Elder, can you hear me?
I can hear you now. Where were you?
I was here. I don't know what's going on. I could hear you clearly before.
Okay.
I say shalom. I don't know what happened.
Okay, I'm glad you're here. Hold tight. And hey, I think you're going to get excited or feel a need to chime in on this particular topic this evening. Check out this topic. Hold on, elders. I'm going to go right in. Before I do so, I would like to say thank you to my brothers and sisters worldwide, those that are a part of the Gathering of Christ Church and in the work, and those who are actually viewing us from the outside of the Gathering of Christ Church. We thank you for your viewership. On top of that, keep in mind, you'll be coming here until we get our page back, which I hope will happen quite soon. But anyway, check out the topic for this evening, brothers and sisters. A well overdue topic. Check out the topic, brothers and sisters. And they're on Blog Talk. How are you? I didn't forget you. I'm going to put out the numbers so that you can call in. Matter of fact, let me do that now. Right? Let me do that now before we get this thing going. The number to call in, if you would like to chime in on this particular topic, this well overdue topic, 515-605-9327 to call in. 515-605-9327. Okay, let's jump in. Topic of discussion today. And I hope you all have your opinions and some resolutions or comments. The unrighteous thinking of a slave. Now, listen to where we're going at here. It's hard for us as a people to digest to some degree. But the key factor which keeps our people in perpetual servitude, listen to this, is our programming. We're going to examine some of that programming this evening. Okay? And we're going to look at some past historical documents, whether people believe that they are authentic or not, these documents apply. Let's examine the making of a slave in an attempt to understand the root of our thinking that prohibits our progress. And by doing so, we're going to use the Bible as our guide or for a solution. Check out where we're going here. The unrighteous thinking of a slave. Let me give you some examples. And I gave Elder Lawyer this example earlier. Mm-hmm. I thought to myself, you know what? What peeves people off everywhere, it doesn't matter your race or whatever the case is what? No one really likes being told what to do, right? I'm giving an example here. No one really likes being told what to do, right? But is that flawed thinking? Were we programmed to say, I'm going to do me. I don't care what people say. Okay, you can't tell me what to do. Well, suppose what someone has to say is beneficial, constructive, righteous. So I had to examine myself with that. It's like, do I really like to be told what to do? No. But is that part of the curse? Many examples, but I'm going to start there. The unrighteous thinking of a slave. Now, in order for us to examine a slave, right, we must also examine what? A master or a controller. Because actually there's someone benefiting from those who are in a slave mentality. Right? Someone's benefiting. So it's in someone's interest to keep slaves in a certain generational mental state. So we have to understand that someone is benefiting from sheer ignorance, because it takes ignorance to stay in a slave mentality. Now, when we think of slaves, brothers and sisters, we think of, you know what, woe is me. I'm picking cotton, hot all day. I'm going to break my chains and escape north. That's the menial mind, the menial thinking that comes into play when one says slavery or thinks slavery. When now that I see the state of the world and the condition of the world, if those that were in power in the 15th century had the technology we have today, they would have done this. What's being executed on all people, especially us at the bottom of all people, is a way higher technological slave than us picking peas and cotton, folks. But in order for them to execute that, slavery was the beta test. Okay, let's focus on who benefits from the unrighteous thinking of a slave. Check out how I quoted that. The unrighteous thinking, because it's the unrighteousness that keeps slavery going from one generation to the next. Right? And we're going to resolve it with the Bible, because all of us everywhere can agree today that there's a problem in this world. There's a problem with our lives. There's a problem with why things don't work right for us, and we need to resolve. But none of us usually go to the Bible for resolve or counsel. We go to psychologists, psychiatrists. We go read books, hoping that someone out there have overcome what we're experiencing. to resolve our issues. Well, you're walking down the aisle and you'll see something that relates to your life with another person, and you'll read the story hoping that you can overcome like them. We go to our girlfriends, our boyfriends with our issues or whatever the case is. But you rarely see people saying, you know what? I wonder, does the Bible have the resolve or the answer to my issue? We're going to talk about it, because when we talk about the unrighteous thinking of a slave, automatically one would believe that we're here to browbeat people or to come down on people. No, it's for resolve. Because Christ said, you shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free. Right? The unrighteous thinking of a slave. Okay. Now, what we're going to do first, we're going to go back to the Willie Lynch letters we've read a while back to show you, starting with, the old slavery, the transatlantic slave trade here in America that came here to America. We're going to go there to read some of the conditioning and see how that conditioning is playing out in our existence even till this day. Whether you be a man, woman, or child. Now, I know some people out there that may be of other races. You may look at this and say, well, this have nothing to do with me. This is a black thing. This is what black people went through. Well, guess what, folks? Doesn't matter what race you are. Okay? Because the accomplishments the master achieved in enslaving us is now being used across the board throughout the earth on everyone. Okay? On everyone. We're gonna deal with some. Let's make a slave real quick. Pull this up for me, Shapat. We're going into what is called, brothers and sisters, the Willie Lynch letters. Right? Now, this is I'm going to show you one of many examples. Okay? One of many examples that produces unrighteous thinking of a slave. Okay? I'm going to show you. It's conditioning. Right? Now, most of us don't want to admit that we're conditioned. Let's start here. Right? Now, I'm not here to beat on the women or whatever, because or talk down on the women or whatever the case is, right? But I want to talk about the woman first and then the man. Why? Because the children in the earth right now who are being raised are being raised predominantly by women, especially if you're looking at minorities or black people. The majority of the children are being raised by women. Now, we can argue through this, or we can talk about who's to blame for it, but it doesn't change the fact that women are raising the children right now. Okay. And maybe that's one unrighteous thinking of a slave, looking to blame each other instead of first dealing with what is. Okay. Let's not talk about all the time how we got into this. This is the reality we're in right now. Let's deal with this and work our way out of it, right? Well, the reality is the majority of young men and young women are being raised by single parents, predominantly women. So we're going to start off with the woman and what happened in slavery, which led to a certain conditioning and thinking which applies today. And then we're going to go over to the man, and I want to focus on the man last for a purpose. But let's first start with what happened to our women in captivity, to show you how the unrighteous thinking of a slave happened. The breaking process of an African woman will be the example in the Willie Lynch letters. Read that, Shapat.
This is from the Willie Lynch letter, which it's estimated to be written around December time in 1712. Okay, 1712, some, 300 years ago. Okay, so
Yes.
back down to the breaking process of the African woman.
And just to preface it before you read on, you had the elite powers, those who were benefiting from slaves, losing their power and control as the blacks began to reprocreate. Okay? Eventually, you're beaten in things that you're dealing with. Putting physical fear in people isn't going to work if they begin to outnumber you. So they had to put in a mental slavery that could control the masses. Once the slaves become what? Innumerable in number. So the slave masters who could benefit from this needed a psychological answer. Okay, how to mentally enslave these people and not just whip and beat them into submission is how this paper was drafted, or this meeting, or the reason for the meeting being called. So they called in what you would call a top psychologist to say, well, I've studied them. This is how we can break them generationally and keep them as servants under the foot of masters. They said, first, let us focus on the African, which we all know is the daughter of Zion, which we all know is the children of Israel's woman, an Israelite woman, but we're going to call her African for the sake of conversation here. Let's start with the breaking process of the African woman. Read it.
Take the female and run a series of tests on her.
Take the female and run a series of tests on her
to see if she will submit to your desires willingly.
Let's first do the test to see if she will submit to your desires willingly. Okay, that's the first step. Okay. A willing slave who will not reject our power. So we're going to run some tests to see if she will just give herself over to us. Mind, body, and spirit without what? Confrontation. And that's their desirables there. So we know the first stage is what they hoped that they could accomplish for all slaves, female slaves. They would rather deal with this willing woman who's willing to give over herself, mind, body, and spirit willingly. And we're going to talk about the mindset behind that in a moment going into the Bible. But go on.
Test her in every way.
Come on.
Because she is the most important factor for good economics.
It says the black woman is the most important factor for good economics. Now let's start there. Because we're told in this society that sisters have no value. You don't understand how much you're worth. They had to focus on you in order to build the foundation of what we see on Wall Street and everything today. See, you think you don't have any worth. They had to make you believe you had no worth. But it's through you the whole society is running. Now, what you going to do with all that power? Right? Because you still have that power. But you've been programmed to use your power for master. See? You still have that power. Okay? So we're going to go into this tonight. For those who've just come in, the unrighteous thinking of a slave, how we were programmed to be unrighteous and not utilize our power for ourselves. Listen clearly. Go on.
If she shows any sign of resistance in submitting completely to your will, do not hesitate to use the bullwhip on her to extract the last bit of resistance out of her.
So you can whip her if she's not willing to give her mind, body, and spirit over willingly, right? We're going to show you how they whip us in our modern time, in these modern times, right? But all of these systematic psychological programs are still in place in some form or fashion. Go on, Shapat.
Take care not to kill her.
Don't kill her, though.
For in doing so, you spoil good economics.
You spoiling good economics. You're wasting good money there. Don't kill her. Keep her alive. Read.
When in complete submission, she will train her offspring.
Now here's the key now. Read that again.
When in complete submission, she will train her offspring.
That's the focus for them. They don't care about the woman, so to speak. The key thing is, if we can break her and train her correctly, she will what?
She will train her offspring.
She will train her offsprings. To do what?
In the early years, to submit to labor when they become of age.
When the child become of age, they'll be willing slaves. Why? They've been conditioned through the fear that was placed on the African woman or the Israelite woman. So the future generations need no breaking. They don't need to do this to the next daughter or the next girl that's growing up.
Right.
Okay? Because in fear of what happened to the sister, the mother, she will now chastise her children when she sees them getting out of line, in fear that the master will do to the daughter and son what was done to her. Now, you know how that applies today, right? But we're going to keep going here. Come on.
Understanding is the best thing.
Understanding is the best thing. Go on.
Therefore, we shall go deeper into this area of the subject matter concerning what we have produced here in this breaking process of the female nigger. Well,
yeah, that's what it says there. The female, I heard that word one time too many last week by the quote unquote
angel.
Celestial one.
Right.
But go on.
We have reversed the relationship in her natural uncivilized state. We have reversed the relationship in her natural uncivilized state. She would have a strong dependency on the uncivilized male, according to them.
So they have taken away the natural thinking of this particular person, right? And what?
We have reversed the relationship.
We have reversed the relationship. Go on.
In her natural uncivilized state.
In her natural uncivilized state. I don't know how that's possible.
According to them.
In her natural uncivilized state, according to them. Read.
She would have a strong dependency on the uncivilized male.
She would have a strong dependency on the uncivilized male. Now, according to them, not falling to the BS or listening or following the line of the master is uncivilized. So overall, what they're saying is, if we do this correctly, we will break her dependence on her helpmeet. We have to make sure that the woman doesn't help the man and the man doesn't help the woman. Right? Listen to this clearly now. We have to make sure that their existence or dependence on each other are devalued. Are you following me here? Come on.
And she would have a limited protective tendency toward her independent male offspring and would raise male offspring to be dependent like her.
We want her to raise her young men to be dependent like her. How many times, brothers and sisters, you see mothers looking at their son saying, "You lazy. Why don't you go get a job?" This, that, and the other. And we see it all the time, don't we? But this is what's not related to that. The protecting that young boy from fear of what might happen to it growing up. You understand? You told the daughter to be a go-getter. Don't let no one stop you and do all the, be independent and all these and get educated and make sure, because you may not have a man. You instilled that in a young lady from an early age. Right? But the young boy, the mom was always fearful of what might happen to the son in the streets. Right? Not realizing it would lead to a certain unproductive for his nation individual, a slave, because he will be utilized the way the master would like to utilize him. And we're going to go into that in a moment. Because what? That lazy boy that's doing nothing and all that, guess what? Master benefits from him. I'm going to show you how in a moment. We're here to break your conditioning, to set you free, to have us understand our current condition. The Most High, the Bible, gives resolution for this. First of all, one must admit we're under a systematic program in order to break it. So I'm not pointing fingers right now. We are we're conversing. Okay? We're going to talk about it. We're not blaming no one for anything. It's about resolution going forward. But we have to go back here and pinpoint the beginning of the program. Go on.
Nature had provided for this type of balance.
Come on.
We reversed nature by burning and pulling a civilized male apart and bullwhipping the other to the point of death.
So naturally, it's in a woman's heart and spirit naturally to depend on a man, her helpmeet, her husband, for protection. So we have to make this strong buck a public example. Anytime it presents itself. For those that are looking strong or mightier than the master will call for a public lynching, right? A public demonization, or an execution altogether, a humiliating execution. Let's take two ropes, tie on either ankle, and hook the rope to horses in opposite directions and make the horses run. And make them run and pull the black, strong, dependent authority, apart in front of his damsel in distress. Let's traumatize her psychologically. Now, no woman out there want to admit that they're traumatized. And through that traumatization, through that traumatizing, what's going on with this woman now is what? She's making all her decisions based on that what? That conditioning or programming. No one wants to admit that they've been traumatized. We're going to go there a little later also. Right? Go on.
All in her presence.
All in her presence, read.
By her being left alone,
I need an ink pen here.
unprotected with the male image destroyed, the ordeal caused her to move from her psychological dependent state to a frozen independent state. In this frozen psychological state of independence, she will raise her male and female offspring in reversed roles.
In reverse roles. I'm going to raise my daughter to be more independent and strong. And on the other hand, I'll train the young boy to be more docile or weak. Right? Reverse roles. And here it is. You notice some of the greatest arguments that happens in relationships. Grown folk, okay, is based on these two conditionings on either side. You notice that? Sister saying, I gotta work, I gotta do this, I gotta clean, I gotta do all, I'm doing everything, and look at you. You're doing nothing. Look at you. Then the man is saying, well, hold up. You need me to be, I'm a man. Why you treat me a certain type of way? You should be submissive. Both of them were programmed for that future argument, folks, as children. Well, we do love each other. What's wrong? We can never see eye to eye. Why can't we be? I was conditioned to play a docile role while you were conditioned to do what you were doing. Here's the issue. Either of the two are willing to relinquish that curse. It's a curse. The unrighteous thinking of a slave. It's a curse. The women will see it and know that it's a, listen, she's totally stressed over this unnatural role, but won't relinquish it. The man is frustrated, not being able to execute his role, but yet he'll stay in that docile state. And guess who's watching both of us? That child, that son, and that daughter. Now, it's only a 2-hour program, but we need to hit home on this and drive this home. Psychologically, we haven't progressed since 1712, folks. The unrighteous thinking of a slave. This conditioning was made so that we as a people could continually argue and fight amongst one another, while training our child to become the next servant for master. Before we get to the next part, because I need to pull some things out for men in a moment, right? Brothers and sisters, what did that Willie Lynch or those slave masters understand? The power of the black woman. Folks, listen. The economics of the world weren't built on white women. There's just the example that's put out there through media to make our daughters, the real women that this society is built on, feel insecure. Okay? They're wasn't focusing on these other women. They was focusing on if we can train this black woman right, we'll push out the next generations, the future generations of slaves for our grandchildren, great-grandchildren, until the change. She's our economic cash cow, okay? We have to make it where she's only dependent on us. Now, let's give you some examples of how that played out. Because you know it, separate the dark skin from the light skin, right? Or sometimes give even the dark skin house privileges. Okay. So now your man is working he's out there in the sun, in the cold, whatever. He's never able to make it into the house, right? Some of them. And here it is, you have advanced to the degree in which you can make master's bed. You can fluff his pillows, right? Here it is, master gets up and you're able to place the slippers on his feet. And you go back and look at your man been slaving all day. We're like, yeah, where you coming from? Master's house, what you doing? I just sweating out there, and picking those peas and cotton. And she's looking at him in the big house and looking at you, right? The strong Lion of Judah, in a totally unappreciated scenario. You know what? Hey, this is a conversation, isn't it? Have anything changed since 1712? Huh? You had something to say on that?
It's just it goes hand in hand with these past few weeks topics, like, for example, the perverseness of the nation. It's staying in this mindset is perverse, even from the wider understanding of the gospel point of view.
Yeah.
Like when the gospel or the fall of the Israelites, salvation to the world, and the Gentiles got rich, right? So when the Gentiles got rich, first and foremost, the slave thing, we did that because we chose to go against the Most High and not keep his laws, statutes, and commandments, right? But what Willie Lynch is doing here, they got rich off our fall. And he's instructing with this letter other slave owners, if you want to stay rich through their fall, these are the methods you can use to do so. And in doing, like Elder mentioned, you will keep their thinking perverse to the point that their children and grandchildren will serve our children and grandchildren and will stay slaves, no matter what you call it in the modern sense, employees. They will never own anything because they'll have no desire to. They won't have any time to even think about owning anything because they're arguing against one another. They're fighting against one another. They're perverse.
Check that out. Now, I want to read something real quick out of the Apocrypha, right? Let me read this, because these things fall right up under the curse, right? Now, before I go there, let me make some examples, right? In order for Willie Lynch to make what you would call willing female slaves, he had to focus more so on what? Appealing to her outward. And also impressing her not according to what she can produce, long term for the master, but more so how she could satisfy physically the master. Right? Now I'm going to give you some examples. You will teach the man how to be what? Docile. And you'll teach the young lady how to be dependent. Or more so willingly under the master or dependent on the master.
But independent from her husband.
But independent from her husband, because she's not independent.
Right.
She's dependent on someone. Great point. right? So usually the best way a woman could get in with any man is what? Through her outward beauty. So young girls are trained from a young age to do what? To appeal outwardly. Okay. So
Elder,
yes.
I just want to make a point right there
Yeah, come on.
of what you read before. It says frozen psychological state of independence,
Yes.
right?
Like a deer in headlights.
It don't even exist. It's an illusion.
Right.
Yes.
She's not independent. She's dependent, but not dependent on her helpmeet. She's dependent on the system that they provide.
Exactly.
And that's what she's teaching. That's what she's pushing back out.
Exactly. Exactly. Great point. Now, the examples I wanted to give, because I'm going to go over to the man in a moment. And the mammies would actually do what? Make the young girls into what? You got it. Future bedfellows, or bed, what you won't want to call that, for master. It was the mammies getting the young girls prepared for laying down with master, right? That's just the example on one side. I'm gonna bring you in 1 second, Elder Lawyer, right? And you know what? Let's not deny this, folks. We have all experienced and seen this growing up, where young girls are objectified and sexualized by their mothers at an age too early for them to even understand what sex is. And we've ignored this plague amongst us. Topic of the show, you got it. The unrighteous thinking of a slave. Let me read this real quick. I'm in Ecclesiasticus in your Apocrypha. And I'm gonna read the 25th chapter. It says, in 3 things I was beautified and stood up beautiful both before God and men. The unity of brethren, the love of neighbors, a man and wife that agree together. What did I just read here? Exactly what Willie Lynch knew he had to break. So they knew the Bible. The reality is the world is unbalanced and everything is unbalanced because the black man and the black woman isn't together. We've been conditioned to be together, but not really be together. The only time we're really together is in the lovemaking process. And guess what? That was programmed in us so that we can make more slaves for them. Think about it. That's the only respite we get from the fights in battle. Why is that? Why can't that experience permeate or exalt itself beyond the bed? I'm speaking grown folk conversation now. Think about it. That was programmed in us. That's the only respite, or what you would call enjoyment, we get in our relationship on purpose, to make more slaves. That's why that young girl is objectified and put out there like some type of sex object and all that. That's why these young ladies are on Snapchat and just showing their bodies and all parts of them to get attention and all that. Because that's the only place where master allows you to be free to make more slaves. Listen to this. I hope this is resonating here. Not just for women, but for us too. For all of us. It's not about blaming each other. It's identifying it to do what? To reverse that process. The Most High gave us the knowledge to do so. He didn't give us knowledge just to say we're Israelites. He gave us the knowledge to do so. Listen to this. In 3 things I was beautified and stood up beautiful both before God and men: the unity of brethren, the love of neighbors, a man and wife that agree together. 3 sorts of men my soul hateth. I am greatly offended in their life. A poor man that is proud. So Willie Lynch had to make what? A poor man that's proud. Someone would celebrate poverty. They created in us what God hates. They conditioned in us what God hates. And you know what? We celebrate it. We protect it.
And I don't mean to interrupt. On that note, please, on what Elder's reading right here, the hood is not our culture. It is not to be celebrated and protected.
It's not our culture. It was made. It was a product of our conditioning. We shouldn't celebrate being indignant, unrighteous, unlawful. That's a product, brothers and sisters, of conditioning. And we're celebrating it. Listen to this. The unity of brethren, the love of neighbors. It says, 3 sorts of men my soul hateth, and I am greatly offended at their life. A poor man that is proud. What do we have to be proud about? But we celebrate. And that's what's so evil about the hip hop culture. It's the most fakest, fabricated culture that celebrates what? Sin and indignity, as well as, above all, slaves. It exudes the spirit of a slave. None of them own those cars they're driving that they've rented for 10 minutes for that video. None of them own the house they're in. None of them own the swimming pools they're in. None of them are with the girls they are around. But it's dangled out there to our young brothers and sisters as a caveat or what you would call a desire to have. We believe that lifestyle is the lifestyle that makes us as a people. Poor people, proud. Right? Listen to this. A rich man that is a liar, the Most High hates. And an old adulterer that doteth. An old adulterer, a person that's an adulterer who won't commit, okay? I see some of these guys out here 40 and 50 single. What's wrong with that? I said I was going to hit the men later, right?
Right.
How can you be single at 50? God, you're laughing. The Most High hates that. Because what legacy are you leaving for the young man, the young children you're making? I said I was going to save the men for later, but it was there.
It's not just that, elder man. It's like it's the boast. You see these guys that, you know, I got this girl. I was with that girl. You know, it's a boastful. You know, it's an adultery that's boasting.
Yes.
You get me? Like what the hell? What are you talking about?
Yeah.
And that's part of our culture. That's part of the curse. That's part of you know, the slave behavior, the slave culture. You with me? We grew up in Jamaica thinking it was good to have many women.
Yes.
You understand?
Yes.
Not knowing that this is something that the Most High hates.
Yes.
We grew up like. you know. So Elder Man, you know, I'm over on this other side listening to this, and so many points coming up. This is a deep lesson, a deep reasoning with our people, because I'll tell you what, I'll save my comments for after. Let me put this mic back on mute.
Yes. Make sure you write down your points, because I need them, Gaja.
Sure.
But I want y'all to hear this real quick, brothers and sisters, and check this out. What Willie Lynch or the masters programmed in us was to make us hateful to God. So they had a blueprint. It was this. It was the Bible. And they said, you know what? We have to create what God hates in them and make it a generational curse. Listen to this. Now, what's the answer to this? The answer is this. To this is simple, and we're going to go into it. Just don't do it. Just stop what they programmed in us immediately. But I'm going to go there in a minute. Listen to this here. If thou hast gathered nothing in thy youth, how canst thou find anything in thine age? If you didn't get any substance growing up, how can you expect to be a what? A constructive, productive adult is what God is asking here. Let me read it again. If thou hast gathered nothing in thy youth, how canst thou find anything in thine age? You got grown folk, 40, 50 years old, still trying to figure out what is God's plan for them. Listen here. It's a curse that the Most High is breaking, folks. That's what we're here for. That's what we're here to have this discussion for. It's not to blame anyone. We can reverse this overnight if applied. If the Bible's guide is followed, we can break this overnight. And I don't want to hear anyone out there complaining about anything going forward. None of us should complain if we're not as a people applying the principles of the Bible. You have nothing to complain about. Zero, because the answer's in the book. If you want to change, you can change. Listen to this here. Oh how comely is judgment for gray hairs and for ancient men to know counsel, to know God's word for resolve. That's what it means to know counsel. To know God's answer to our questions. Listen to this. Much experience is the crown of an old man, and the fear of God is their glory. Now, you know, the fear of God is what?
Keeping the commandments.
Is the beginning of wisdom. If you fear God, you keep his commandments, right? The Bible, 7. There be 9 things which I have judged in mine heart to be happy, and the 10th I will utter with my tongue. A man that have joy of his children. Who can enjoy his children? Well, men are not even around for children. They just make them. Right? And then on top of that, what's the first thing come to mind when a woman do have a child? Child support. Right? And he that liveth to see the fall of his enemy. The Most High says, there be 9 things which I've judged in mine heart to be happy. This is what makes a man happy. Okay? And the 10th I will utter with my tongue. A man that have joy of his children, and he that liveth to see the fall of his enemy. See? Well is him that dwelleth with a wife of understanding. Listen to this. Listen to this. Well is him that dwelleth with a wife of understanding. They broke the understanding out of our women to the point where all of the understanding would be used to benefit the master or to carry us long enough not to be harmed by master. Listen to this. Woe is him that dwelleth with a wife of understanding, and have not slipped with his tongue, and that have not served a man more unworthy than himself. Have we not served a man more unworthy than ourselves? People who have done far worse than us, we're serving. Listen to this now. This is how the program is broken, folks. Listen.
Elder.
Yes.
I just want to share something with you real quick, Elder.
Come on,
when you
come
just
on.
said that. A few years ago, I remember I told you I went back to Jamaica, and I was dealing with my family member, my uncle, and he actually wanted me to come and work for him, and he made me an offer, like a good offer, and this was a scripture that came to my mind, is that I can't continue to serve and someone more unworthy than myself, if that makes sense. More wicked than myself. If I'm serving, it must be serving for the righteous.
Exactly.
This is a scripture that came to my mind. I can't serve the unrighteous no more. I can't give them any more of my life. It must be in right. This is a scripture that came to my mind. I can't serve a man more unworthy than myself. So if I'm serving, it has to be in righteousness. And like you said, if we apply these scriptures, we can break these curses. I mean, I'm here in Australia, the other side of the world, so to speak, right? And it's the same program. It's the same thing. It's everywhere. Our people think that we must be in poverty, in a mindset of the gutter, for us to be who we are. We glorify this when we are the kings of the earth. When we should be the trendsetters and setting trend in righteousness. Don't want to come off of the topic, but one of my favorite movies of all time is Coming to America. And I always say there's so many subliminals with Coming to America. It's royalty. It's showing Judah in royalty, how Judah is, how it should be, how Solomon was on the earth. Righteous, royal, beautiful. And we this is in us. We just need to come out of this curse. We need to come out of this mindset of the curse, of that, we must be ghetto, we must be hood. Nah, man, I'm tired of it. You with me? With royalty, with the salt of the earth, with the flavor. Yesterday I sat down with some sisters, man, and the sisters have sang like any major recording artist that you would see out there. Regular old sisters with a guitar from the island. You should see that. I made a video of it. Oh my goodness, this is us. I mean, Elder, this topic here is sparking so much in my thought process right now. You with me? It's kind of hard for me to keep quiet with it because it's real. It's what it is.
Yes,
it's what it is. This is our problem with this is our problem, our slave programming.
Yes,
and we have to come out of it. It is the solution to our problems because it fixes everything. We won't treat each other as slaves, even in relationships. And mother, the father, sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm going to tell you, Gaja, what's deep about this is not that we are exhibiting these things, right? And not just the fact that we are relaying these curses to our children, which is even worse. But the next thing is we've been taught to protect and celebrate this condition.
Right, like it belongs to us.
To celebrate it as if it makes up our individualism. It makes up who we are. When we look in the Bible, righteous people aren't like this. It's a mind. It's a mindset. And now I see why so many people out there who are crying about solution and all these things, and all these and marching and talking about the white man I see why they're projecting instead of matter of fact, I understand to some degree why a lot of these people outright who are evil and perpetuate the curses hates the Bible. Because with the Bible, you can't celebrate slave condition.
No.
See that? You can't honor sin and promote that as a way of life or culture if you believe in the Bible. You can't excuse, you wouldn't be excusing sin. That's why so many people who so-called conscious, who claim that they for our people, but one thing they all have in common is, and the Christians too, what they all have in common is we shouldn't follow the Bible, or if you're a Christian, the law is done away with. That thought process alone allows you to celebrate your slave condition. But go ahead. No,
spot on, Elderman. Spot on with it. Like even the more you even breaking down the scriptures, it's the more it's coming in back. Like it's just ringing home. A few years ago, you did a lesson called a Royal Nation, and
yes.
This is it. If the nation can't see themselves as royalty and can't see themselves in the law with righteousness, then we will forever repeat the Willie Lynch syndrome. We'll forever, we'll repeat it. We will pass it on. We will pass it on to our children.
Yes.
And not only that, we will teach the other nations that this is right.
Yes, exactly. And I'm going to tell you, well, I can't tell you now because we have to take a break real quick and come right back with the second part of this. We're going to finish off on the sisters and we're going to the brothers last for a reason. But before I do that, and hold your point, make sure you write that down. I'm going to bring Lawyer back in a moment. But let me put out there right now, brothers and sisters, that we have a new installment. We just end our Hebrew and Bible Academy, week 12, just finished it last Sunday. And we are now in the enrollment period for the next Hebrew and Bible Academy beginning December 23rd. Okay? You don't want to miss this academy. We're going to start off with the creation of the universe, teaching it like you've never heard it before. Going into week after that, tracing the serpent seed. We're going to go into what happened before the flood and relate it to what's going on now, to let you know that the technology we have now it was here before the flood. We're going to break that down. Many more new lessons is coming. You don't want to miss this academy. Because what? It's more of what you would call a scholarly lesson without interruptions. We couldn't do anything like this publicly, like YouTube and all that, because why? We have many scoffers, people coming in, interrupting others. No, we need a class setting to learn our laws, statutes, and commandments and the correct theology, opposed to these seminary colleges that have been lying to our people for ages. The Hebrew and Bible Academy is the answer, and it will begin December 23rd. You don't want to miss this. Go to historytimes.org and enroll, okay? I needed to put that out there. We have a few more announcements later, but I'm going to tell you, brothers and sisters, if you haven't been in the academy, you are missing. You are missing it, okay? It's only $50 per month. Okay. For 3 months, it'll be the best $150 you've ever spent. You will have more knowledge and understanding in one class than all your life. And after that academy, or after that first week in the academy, you'll never see the Bible the same. And it helps.
Hebrew.
And
there's news like
exactly.
no other place.
Okay, Shapat be bringing the news with our commentary. Lawyer comes in with the Hebrew 101. It's more information than you can actually consume. Okay, we make sure we send you the PDFs. On top of the PDFs, we can go back and review the videos for your own listening pleasure, so that if something happens where the scriptures are coming too fast, you can pause it, catch up. You know how you do it. Hebrew and Bible Academy, December 23rd. Don't miss it. Also, we have a brand new building. We're looking for an open date for January 1st. It's a central location for the earth for our Gathering of Christ Church central location. And we're now taking donations for those who would like to support. If you would like to support, send a check or money order to Gathering of Christ Church, 2000 Hamilton Street, P.O. Box 946, Philadelphia, PA 19130. Okay, 2000 Hamilton Street, Philadelphia, PA 19130. Title it Gathering of Christ Church. Or send an email to gatheringas1@aol.com and say you would like to support the location, the new central location, headquarters for the church. And we'll let you know how you can send your check, money order, or you can just go through PayPal. But we thank you for those who've already helped us. All praises be the Most High. Okay, let's jump right back in now that I've made that announcement. Getting right back on point, brothers and sisters. Now, I'm in the Apocrypha. The title of this particular discussion, The Unrighteous Thinking of a Slave. It's hard to digest, but the key factor which keeps people in perpetual servitude is our programming. Let's examine the making of a slave in an attempt to understand the root of the thinking that prohibits our progress as a people, using the Bible as our guide. Okay? Now, and for those Christians who are claiming that the Apocrypha isn't spiritually inspired, if we had this wisdom that's written of in the Apocrypha and applied it, it could reverse the curse. It would reverse the curse if we began to apply the wisdom I've just read. Listen to this here. 8th verse. Remember, Willie Lynch's first plan was to separate the man from the woman and focus on educating and protecting the woman, black woman, for the sake of his economic future. Don't kill the black woman now. We need her alive. Based on what? The influence she would have over the children for generations to come. Right? But the black male, we have to deal with that man a little different. We're going to go there in a moment. It says here, Ecclesiastes 25:8. Well is him that dwelleth with a wife of understanding, and that have not slipped with his tongue, and that have not served a man more unworthy than himself. Well is him that have found prudence, and he that speaketh in the ears of them that will hear. Oh, how great is he that findeth wisdom! Yet is there none above him that feareth the Most High. But the love of the Most High passeth all things for illumination. He that holdeth it, whereunto shall he be likened? Right? The fear of the Lord is the beginning of his love, and faith is the beginning of cleaving unto him. Now, if you fear the Most High, we do what? We keep his commandments. 1 John 5:3, and his commandments aren't grievous. They're not hard to do at all. You hear these Christians claiming, well, can we follow the law? No, here's a better question. Have you tried? Have you tried? Let's read the 13th verse. Give me any plague but the plague of the heart, and any wickedness but the wickedness of a woman, and any affliction but the affliction from them that hate me, and any revenge but the revenge of enemies. There is no head above the head of a serpent, and there is no wrath above the wrath of an enemy. I had rather dwell with a lion and a dragon than to keep house with a wicked woman. So they began to train sisters to celebrate wickedness, celebrating the spirit of being what they would call themselves a bee. When the Bible is contrary to that spirit. But the masters love that spirit because it's seldom at all that they experience that from sisters. Okay, that programming was to keep us at bay. When you before your boss is all in the corporate world, that bee goes out the window and comes right back when you're before your man. See, that's a program that happened at the plantation house when you were able to fluff the pillows and do all these things while the man had to be somewhere, in the sun somewhere, baking, almost half fried, picking cotton. What's wrong with you, man? Come on, Shabbat, stick with me, man. The wickedness of a woman changeth her face. That means she'll be having all them looking all types of faces and all that, speaking to her man. That was conditioned. The wickedness of a woman changeth her face, and darkeneth her countenance like sackcloth. Her husband shall sit among his neighbors, and when he heareth it, shall sigh bitterly. All wickedness is but little to the wickedness of a woman. Let the portion of a sinner fall upon her. This is talking about a wicked woman, a woman that's celebrated in all these reality shows we see today, is what God hates. But yet our young ladies are looking at that and looking at that as the example of how to get attention. Like the good girls finish last, so I got to be that, what God hates. Let's perpetuate the curse. Let me get tat from my head down. Let me get booty shots. Let me get this. Let me get that. Let me not invest at all in my virtue. Let me not teach my daughter what virtue is, what understanding is, what honor has always been, according to God. It says here, all wickedness is but little to the wickedness of a woman. That means when a woman want to be wicked, can't no one do it better. Let the portion of a sinner fall upon her. As the climbing up a sandy way is to the feet of the aged, so is a wife full of words to a quiet man. Stumble not at the beauty of a woman. He's telling the righteous. Don't fall at the beauty of a woman. Don't search for someone strictly for what they're showing you on the outside. All that work was done on the outside to cover what's missing within. And that's what you're going to have to live with, what she's covering. Not what she did for 2 hours to present herself. Don't be captive. We're already captive to this world under a slave master. Don't be a slave 2 times. Is what the wisdom of the Bible teaches. Stumble not at the beauty of a woman, and desire her not for pleasure. So when you're looking for someone, her outward appearance is not first on the list, but last in pecking order. Will she be a good wife, according to the Most High? Will she be a good companion, according to the Most High? Will she be a good mother, according to the wisdom of the Most High? Will she be a nurturer according to God? Will she allow me to be a husband according to the Most High God? All that got to be checked, because these are the things that are going to cause the conflict. And then, you know what? She looks nice also. But it's different now. You look at the person in the outward beauty first,
And have no regard.
and then realize at the end of this that you have married a monster. You've married a perpetual curse that's going to be a curse on your children now. You don't know what she believes, what she think. Stumble not at the beauty of a woman, and desire her not for pleasure. A woman, if she maintaineth her husband. Now listen to this. Now the Willie Linton syndrome said that they must make the girls go-getters and the men docile. Why did he put that in there? Why? Because it mentioned a woman, if she maintain her husband, is full of anger, impudence, and much reproach. She won't be that to a master. She's being that to the man she have to do what? Uphold and care for. But these are the men slave masters produced. See? He knew that eventually the women would be tired and get over your cuteness or whatever she wanted you for. So listen, I'm over how you're looking, all that now. What have you done for me lately? See? The slave master knew that. And then there'll be a comparison of our slave mentality to how much the other nations have. Look how they treat their women. Look how they are more understanding. Look how they are this, and look at you. Well, they weren't under the condition, were they? So I'm not going to make no excuses about it. You know what? Who cares if they weren't under the condition? I don't have to be now. I don't have to make excuses anymore. Sisters don't have to make excuses to why they are being, that they have to do certain things because the white woman is the example of beauty and all that. And that. You don't have to do that anymore. And men don't have to make excuses anymore. We got the answers. We got the answers. We can just stop it. We are free to stop the programming, folks. We are free to do it now. Listen to this here before I get to the men real quick, because I'm getting to the men. A wicked woman abateth the courage. That means she takes the courage from a man. And heavy countenance and a wounded heart. A woman that will not comfort her husband in distress, maketh weak hands and feeble knees. Of the woman came the beginning of sin, and through her we all die. Give the water no passage, neither a wicked woman liberty to gad abroad. If she go not as thou wouldest have her, cut her off from thy flesh, and give her a bill of divorce, and let her go. Now we know the bill of divorce was placed in before Christ gave the understanding that in the beginning it wasn't so. But the Most High more so desired peace and love in a family, opposed to continual friction. Okay? Listen to this. Here's the woman before the curse. Blessed is the man that have a virtuous wife, for the number of his days shall be double. A virtuous woman rejoiceth her husband, and he shall fulfill the years of his life in peace. A good wife is a good portion, which shall be given in the portion of them that fear the Lord. So usually a good woman is sent to a good man. If a man choose a woman strictly for the outward appearance or sex or the way she looked in her dress or whatever, that's showing his spiritual acumen. That's showing his lack of spiritual intelligence. So you can expect him to relate to her on that level, because the portion of a wicked woman is given to a wicked man. So no one can be complaining about this woman is this and this woman is that, and you chose her. Okay. What does that say about you? Huh? Now we're going to get to the man, the man in a second. Right? Matter of fact, let's get to the man right now. Okay, because Willie Lynch had to first get to that woman and say, you know what? We have to set up a system in which she can depend on us more so than him. She'll always look at him as a no good non-provider and perpetuate the curse. Because if she backs him and he stands and understands who he is, and they begin to reprocreate and make those big, strong children, eventually they'll join together and overthrow us. They'll have the strength of their woman also being led by the strength of their men. And instead of these women bringing forth servants, they'll be bringing forth an army against us. Now, do we want to condition, or what more so, feed the woman who's going to bring forth the army against us? Or should we socialize the woman who bear slaves? In order for her not to raise an army against us, we must do something about that man. She must view this man as less than us throughout her existence, from cradle to the grave. Because in that man lies the kingdom of heaven. The future prophecies are that man. She will bring forth an army against us if we don't condition her correctly. Give her anything she wants, okay? Coddle her, protect her, let her be in the house. But she's not in the house alone, of course. If we're going to allow anyone in the house with mammy, so these were the young men, black or mulatto, being that they probably dealt with the master dealing with the woman. They would have these in the house as butlers, doorkeepers, chefs, objectified young men, all online now. This is what's going on. But these young men grow up, young boys grow up, folks, to be adults. Perfect slaves for our society. How do we break the conditioning? Now let's talk about the breaking of men. Go there on Willie Lynch for me real quick. Real quick.
Where are we going?
We show the young lady, young girl. Sisters putting weaves on a young girl and all that and objectifying them. Right here where it says the man. Shows here. That was the woman. Yes. Finish reading what they will do with the male after tearing them apart. Read.
Mm-hmm. From the top?
Just say the N-word instead of, yeah.
From the top?
Yes.
Now we can sleep soundly. This is the Willie Lynch letter. Now we can sleep soundly, for out of frozen fear his woman stands guard for us. He cannot get past her early slave molding process. He is a good tool, now ready to be tied to the horse at a tender age. By the time a boy reaches the age of 16, he is soundly broken in and ready for a long life of sound and efficient work and the reproduction of a unit of good labor force.
Come on.
Continually through the breaking of uncivilized, savage N-word, by throwing the female savage into a frozen psychological state of independence, by killing off the protective male image.
By killing off the what?
Protective male image.
By killing off the protective male image, read.
And by creating a submissive, dependent mind of the N-word male slave. We have created an orbiting cycle that turns on its own axis forever.
For what?
Forever.
Forever.
Unless
what?
A phenomenon occurs.
Unless a phenomenon occurs.
The Most High.
The Most High. That if we put this in place, speaking of the slave masters, eventually this will work all by itself. It will be perpetual. Look at this, brothers and sisters. Look at this. Here's the army of the Most High in front of you. See, what a lot of you didn't know, that your butlers and your chefs in the house were turned out boys. Can you see this? The Lion of Judah is right here before you. Elder Lawyer, we got two young men who were raised probably by their mother without a father, hugging up on each other. Look at our men. Look at them. Let me tell you, everyone like to talk about slavery. We should more so be focusing on the product of slavery, folks. This was their plan. This was their plan. And it's systematic. The same way today, they instill fear in our women now. Why? And fear of what may happen to their young boys in the streets. But who have set that mechanism so within our communities? The same masters. So the woman is more so protective of the young boy and coddle him like she should be coddling a girl. See? So she's not teaching independence and strength and thinking outside the box to young men. A man being more so courageous, a young man being daring. No, that's the young girl being taught that now. Okay? And then the man grow up in fear because what? The fear of his mother was instilled in him. It becomes something less than a man. It's a product that's made less than a man. And a grown woman sees it and can't respect him and won't respect him. The slave mentality. The Bible says the Most High's, it tell you about the Most High's flock of his pasture are men. So let's go into the man real quick. Elder Lawyer, you with me, Elder Lawyer?
Yes, sir. I'm with you.
I pulled you in for this specific point. I know Elder Gaja went. Let's talk about the men real quick. The servitude of men. What you got?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Just give me one moment here.
Okay.
All right. So, yes. And hearing everything, both on the male side as well as the female side. And going back to slavery, of course, we're dealing with the Willie Lynch letters, going back to the time of the transatlantic slave trade, so on and so forth. Now, some people may be asking, well, how does this relate to us today? So I'm going to fast forward into our modern time, because we would be lying to ourselves if we were to say or to believe that everything that we've just read, along with the curses in the Bible, we'd be lying to ourselves if we said that these things do not have an effect on how we think and our logic in modern times.
Okay.
So the question was asked earlier, did anything change since the time that these letters were written, or at least the time that we were in slavery? And to answer that question, I'm going to read a scripture here in the book of Daniel, chapter 12, verse 4, where it says, "But thou, Daniel, O shut up the words and seal the book even until the time of the end, many shall run to and fro, and knowledge shall be increased. So yes, we know that at least one thing has changed since the time we were in slavery, and that's knowledge. That's information.
But
Now, the beautiful thing about it is that because knowledge has increased, we have learned that we are not just Negroes, we're not just big bucks or bedwenches, so on and so forth. We're the children of Israel who served and were placed in captivity based on the fact that we broke the Most High's commandments. But there's go ahead.
No, go ahead.
But there's also a flip side to this knowledge, because also with the knowledge of God increasing, also just frivolous knowledge has increased. Right now, we're at a time in which knowledge is at everyone's fingertips. But yet, even though the knowledge is at everyone's fingertips, you can go online right now and research pretty much everything. How to open a business, how to fix your marriage, how to fix a leak in your roof, so on and so forth. All of this knowledge is available, but nonetheless, the people, the way we think, our critical thinking and our logic has yet to change. We're still in the same state we were in when the quote unquote Willie Lynch system, or when the curses of the Bible were placed upon us. And a part of that is the fact that even though the knowledge is there, the information is there, the discipline and the wisdom that it takes us to apply the knowledge is not there.
right.
Because at one point, in order to receive knowledge, you had to go to someone of age, someone of wisdom to receive understanding. And with that, it took a level of discipline. It took a level of humility in order to receive that information and to learn how to apply it in your life. And that's an aspect that we have lost because, hey, we can simply go to Google and look up anything without having to deal with the discipline that it takes to apply the knowledge, to apply wisdom, to actually change our condition, to change the way we think, to change our lives. Now, there's a few scriptures which actually address some of the things that we've been addressing before we move forward. It says here in the book of Isaiah chapter 1, verse 3, the ox knoweth his owner, and the donkey his master's crib, but Israel doeth not know, my people doeth not consider. So the ox and the donkey are two creatures which are not known for their intelligence, but yet they're intelligent enough to know and to consider who their master is, who their maker is, who their Lord is. But we do not even consider. Now, check this out. The word for consider in the Hebrew is H995. And that word breaks down to separate mentally, to be able to separate or divide mentally, to understand or to have intelligence. So the Bible is telling us that these creatures, even though they're not known for their wisdom, they're not known for their intelligence, they're intelligent enough to know their Lord or their master, their owner. We do not have the intelligence to seek our master, to seek our Lord, to seek our maker, to undo the curses, to undo all the hurt and the pain that's been put upon us through slavery, through captivity. Moving on to the book of Jeremiah 4:22, it says, for my people is foolish, they have not known me. So first and foremost, this is letting us know that the Most High is measuring foolishness or wisdom, not just based on book smarts of which you think you know, so on and so forth. He's measuring our wisdom, our knowledge and understanding based on how much we actually know him and seek him. So it says, my people is foolish, they have not known me, they are sottish children, and they have none understanding. They are wise to do evil, so we have wisdom and knowledge on how to do evil, how to do wrong, but to do good, they have no knowledge. So, of course, we have many intelligent people amongst us. That's not to say that we are a stupid people. We have a lot of smart people, a lot of intelligent people amongst our nation throughout all 12 tribes. But the issue is that a lot of that information, especially going back to what we were dealing with the Willie Lynch letters, a lot of the information that we've obtained is information that helps sustain and uphold the master's system, the master's house.
Mm.
One last thing I wanted to read before handing it back over, not to be too long-winded. It says here in the second Esdras chapter, I'm going to jump around to second Esdras 7, and this is from the annotated Apocrypha.
Yeah.
And this actually goes into the fact that the Most High, one of the reasons why the Most High is actually angry with us, and one of the reasons that we as humans or mankind actually go through judgment and torment is because the Most High gave us a mind and intelligence, but we refuse to use that mind and that intelligence that the Most High gave us. Mm. It says here in 2nd Esdras 7 and 48, I'm going to jump around. It says, for an evil heart has grown up within us, which has alienated us from God and has brought us into corruption and the ways of death, and has shown us the paths of perdition and removed us far from life. And that not merely for a few, but for almost all who have been created. Jumping down to verses 64 through 62, or 62 to 64. I replied and said, O earth, what have you brought forth? For the mind is made out of the dust, like other created things. For it would have been better if the dust itself had not been born, so that the mind might not have been made from it. But now the mind grows with us, and therefore we are tormented because we perish, and we know not. Verse 70, he answered me and said, when the Most High made the world and Adam and all who come from him, he first prepared the judgment and the things that pertain to judgment. Verse 71, but now understand from your own words, for you have said that the mind grows with us, meaning the Most High gave us a brain, he gave us a mind, he gave us intelligence. And through time, that intelligence grows as we grow older. Okay? Mm-hmm. Verse 72 says, for this reason, therefore, those who live on earth shall be tormented. Because though they had understanding, meaning though we had intelligence, though we had a mind and a brain to think, they committed iniquity. And though they received the commandments, they did not keep them. And though they obtained the law, they dealt unfaithfully with that what they received. So the Most High gave us everything we needed to serve him, to think logically, to think with wisdom and understanding, but we refuse to do so. Why? Because we refuse the commandments or to keep the commandments of the Most High God.
Hey, I want to jump in real quick, right? Because lawyer, great points. Thank you. And I need you to stick with me because I just want to hit this before you come back, right? I like to use examples so that brothers and sisters can understand this slave mentality we must break, right? And what I'm going to use real quick, I'm going to use Bill Cosby as an example, right? Suppose Bill Cosby followed the law, statutes, and commandments of God. And I'm saying this is because not that he didn't know any better. Why? Because the Huxtables was the example of honor according to a law. Okay? A husband devoted to a wife, raising constructive, productive, loving children. But yet, that was his what? Make-believe life. That was his make-believe life. The real life, not that he did some of the things that they claim he did, but we know in Hollywood, it perpetuates the spirit of whoremongery to the degree in which eventually someone is going to get something on you that they'll use later. You understand? And I wanted to use that example to say it's not that we don't know any better, but we can only express those tenets or those thoughts in make-believe world. Okay? And I wanted to use that as an example since he was on the tongues of everyone last year and all what went on. But the whole thing is this. We know to do better. Mm-hmm. I mean, what did Bill Cosby represent? An educated, rich, independent, talented black man, a strong influence and example for us in the secular world. And he was able to actually get all that, brothers and sisters, by actually doing in make-believe, showing it an example of a God-fearing family.
That's key.
Now check that out.
Yeah, that's key.
Check it out. That's key. He was able to show an example of a God-fearing family, which at this time was an anomaly, because these people were supposed to be under a curse. They weren't supposed to know how to operate outside of their slave mentality and build productive children, okay, that were not a result of a curse. See, you see where I'm going at here? And I'm starting to believe they only put it on TV because why? TV is make-believe. Right? I want to use that as an example for you all real quick, right? But here it is, brothers and sisters. The Most High God of Israel, it has now broke the curse. Christ says, listen here. Christ says clearly that the kingdom cometh not by observation. Christ said that. Neither here nor there. The kingdom is within you, Israel. If we stop making excuses for why we operate a certain type of way and just begin to do right going forward, Christ would eventually break the curse altogether and speed his coming. Okay? He would eventually answer our prayers. But it cometh not by observation. We must turn away from this fake existence, this programming, and become the children of God, not just in name, but in action. And that starts with what they tore apart, folks. Family. We have to, again, brothers and sisters, we have to begin to promote and magnify what is shame. What is shame? We have to find what it is according to the Most High and execute it, and let our young ladies know we're no longer accepting anything less than virtue. The same thing with men. We're not accepting femininity, weakness, a product of a curse. We have to pull out that word and have everyone understand what shame is. Okay? If you can't be who the Most High make you, you're supposed to walk in shame. You're supposed to understand that darkness, not just because you deal with it alone. It's just the world accepts your shame and celebrate it. The world accepts your shame and celebrates it. But when you are alone, you are ashamed and you know it. Let me read this real quick. Speaking of men, speaking of the 6 things doeth the Most High hate. Proverbs 6:16. These 6 things doth the Lord hate, yet 7 are an abomination unto him. A proud look, going right back to a poor guy, someone that has nothing, and being proud as a slave. There's nothing to be proud about serving other people. A proud look, which is what? Magnified and celebrated in our society. A lying tongue, another thing that's celebrated in our society, where people just listen and hear what anyone have to say and accept it. accepting a lie or accepting bearing false witness, and hands that shed innocent blood. That sounds like the hood to me. What it sounds like to you. And that's 3 things out of the 6 that the Most High hate. Out of 7 that the Most High hate. It's our living condition, folks. And hands that shed innocent blood. How long will our brothers continue to kill each other and call it a culture, a lifestyle, or keeping it real? How long? And to show you our condition, how deeply ingrained the condition is, you know better. You know only to keep the killing within a certain parameter. It's only okay to kill your own. And the Most High says, thou shalt not murder. We're not supposed to be thinking about killing anyone. But it shows you your conditioning when you actually deal with all this reckless killing within a barrier, within borders.
Perverse.
Exactly. So you know you can't go in the suburbs and do it right. Listen to this. In a heart that deviseth wicked imaginations. People that sit back and calculate how to harm someone else, not how to constructively build. What the Bible is speaking of is the spirit that everyone have been speaking about, crabs in a bucket, without being able to put a label or a scripture on it. This is what it's talking about. That crab in a bucket mentality is Proverbs, the 6th chapter and the 18th verse. A heart that deviseth wicked imaginations. You sit back and calculate how to keep your own people on the bottom. So that's why Willie Lynch, he's dead and gone. Even those who devised the plan, but they've implemented a plan so well that the powers that be no longer have to attend or to make sure that those tenets are instilled from one generation to the next. If they stop doing everything right now, we would still exhibit these particular behaviors amongst each other. A heart that deviseth wicked imaginations, and feet that be swift in running to mischief. You're running to do wickedness. But no one is running to rally all together and say, you know what? We're in this condition together. Let's not kill each other. Let's get our families together. Let's train our children up correctly. None of us are running together or coming together for this. 19. These are the things that the Most High hates the most. Because why? If you exhibit any of these things, these tenets, these evil tenets here, you'll stay in perpetual slavery. And he made us a free people. 6 and 19. A false witness that speaketh lies, and he that soweth discord amongst brethren. A person that's never talking about how we can come together, but is always trying to point out something that would keep us divided. I'm skeptical of that. Well, I'm skeptical of this, but you know what? It's okay. Let's just stay in slavery together. Okay. I'm not sure about that when it comes to my people, but Massa sure got it together. Oh, I don't trust him. I don't trust her. But I'll tell you, Massa, yes, he sure got it together. See where we're going at here, folks? And I'm not talking about, this is not talking about women doing this, brothers and sisters. This is speaking of about men. This is men. We're not talking about the women backbiting and saying, we're talking about grown men, lions of Judah, running around spreading rumors, bearing false witness. And remember I said the children are looking at the women? Now we have the women looking at men, running around and spreading rumors. You understand? Women are looking at men and saying, well, hold up now. Why are you acting like a woman? Aren't you a man? And then you're asking me to submit to you and honor you and respect you? See? It goes both ways. Instead of blaming each other now, why don't we all just stop it altogether and come back to the Most High God? Because while we're blaming each other, who's benefiting? The same system we complain about, the same white man we so-called complain about. Why don't we just stop it? I'm about to bring in some calls. You have anything, Elder Gadget?
No, Elder. I'm good. I'm good for now.
Hey.
A big lesson today, a big topic, big discussion. I mean, it's not just identifying a problem, it's also bringing a solution to it.
Mhm.
Exactly.
And we all need to sit back and examine this and examine it. This isn't a talk going out to people. This is a talk going even to ourselves.
Yes.
I need to examine this. I need to examine myself, because it's easy to get caught up in that mindset. This is the path that's been laid and set, and we are the pioneers breaking that path and chartering a new course.
Yes.
So, it's deep on many levels, Elder. I remember when you did that lesson, a nation of royalty. You understand, and it was profound. It's just a mindset. We're so easily caught up in that mindset of accepting mediocrity, of accepting, everything that the Most High hates. We want to accept it, and like you said, defend it. You understand? And this is not what we're supposed to be doing. And since the last couple of months, just being around the elders and going in and out of Babylon and it's like a mindset I've been looking at, like, we're perpetuating this curse on so many levels. It's not just breaking the laws. It's more than that. You with me? It's more. It's more. It's more, and it's more. On the flip side, it's more than just saying, okay, I'm an Israelite. Okay, I got the truth. Okay, I keep the Sabbath. I don't eat pork anymore. It's more. It's how am I dealing with my brethren? How am I dealing with my brother? Is it in love? Am I able to forgive? Am I able to am I able to help? All of these things. You understand? And it gives a new take on when Christ says, unless a man be born again. You understand? And it's a complete change. It's a 180, then a left turn. You understand as to where we're going? It's in the opposite direction. It's in the opposite path. Unless a man be born again. What does that born again entail? What is he talking about?
We have to be
born again. Sorry?
Change the way you think.
Of course, everything about us must change. It must change. We must change it. We must change the way we think, the way we operate, the way we deal with each other. Everything must change. Everything must go. That's the only way we can come out of this. Yeah. And that's why you see so many people get the truth. Like, wake up to the understanding, but then fall back into madness. Why? Because it's like, okay, you're Israel, but it goes more than that. It's more than just being an Israelite. Because if that was the way, then we would have woken up a long time ago. This would have ended a long time ago. They wouldn't have put the Messiah on the cross. You understand? It's a change.
1 second. The stream is about to cut off on Blog Talk, okay? But you can call in. You can call in the number, okay? You got 1 minute to call in.
90 seconds.
515-605-9327. If you call in now, 515-605-9327. You'll get in, then I'll go down. I'll have a few minutes to go down and review all the phone calls. But I wanted to keep the calls till last for a purpose. I really wanted this lesson to resonate, this conversation to resonate this tonight on this topic, the unrighteous thinking of a slave. No longer are we blaming other
60
people
seconds.
for what we perpetually do to each other.
Do to ourselves.
No longer. I don't want to hear no one complaining about anything, when we haven't consulted the word of God or fell on our knees to the Most High for the answers, so that he can show guidance and counsel in our lives. There's no complaining or looking for answers outside of the Most High. You can't complain if we are not following him. Okay, the same way they say in the system, well, you don't have a voice if you don't vote. There's nothing you can say about the system if you don't vote. Well, what can we say about the condition in life if we're not seeking
10
him,
seconds.
seeking the one who made life? Okay. I'm going to let this go, and I'm going to go down the line real quick. You have something to say, Shapat?
Yeah, I just wanted to read in some of these comments.
Yeah.
Some still kind of get trapped in the, well, related to the marriage thing.
Yeah.
Right. Some still get trapped in the back and forth of, well, I can't really submit because the men are wrong. Or the men, there'll be comments with brothers saying, well, I haven't got a wife because the women are wrong. I just wanted to read
They're still subjected to the slave mentality.
Right. I wanted to read some things.
Go ahead, read it.
In relation to that. And it was brought out in the couple of weeks ago in one of the broadcasts about the perverse nation.
Yeah.
Right. I'm in Philippians chapter 2 and picking up from verse 13.
Yeah.
And we're going to look at the dictionary definition of the word perverse also. Verse 13, Philippians chapter 2 and verse 13. For it is the Most High which worketh in you both to will and to do of his good pleasure. Do all things without murmuring. So no back and forth. I can't do this because of that and that because of this, right? Do all things without murmurings and disputings, that ye may be blameless and harmless, the sons of the Most High, without rebuke, in the midst of a crooked and perverse nation, among whom ye shine as lights in the world. So you can't render evil for evil. Just because you perceive someone is a certain way right now, you can't then say, well, I'm not going to act in the way I'm supposed to act, because that is perverse, as we're going to find in the definition of the word perverse. Perverse, of a person or their actions, showing a deliberate and obstinate desire to behave in a way that is unreasonable or unacceptable, often in spite of the consequences. Now, in light of the title of this broadcast, this radio broadcast, I'll read it again. It says, the unrighteous thinking of a slave. It is a slave's thinking not to think of the consequences of their actions, that it economically serves the master's interest to continue to not think about the consequences.
Exactly.
And on so many levels.
Exactly.
I just wanted to put that out, that you have to consider the end result of your actions.
And let me give an example of taking away these excuses. There's no sin common to man. There's nothing that you or I are dealing with in this world, husband or wife or individuals, that the prophets and others in the Bible haven't experienced. Okay.
Right.
The example I can give where a man will say, well, hold up. What I'm going to do about this woman, this, that, and the other, she won't allow me to follow. Well, Job is the example. His wife said, curse your God to death
And die.
and die. Unbeliever. But you know what? His children were unbelievers. And the Most High put a hedge over the whole house because of him.
Right.
He did right regardless of her.
Right.
So usually the built-in excuse is because you have a desire to do something else. That only happens in the world where, well, we're not getting along, so let me choose another life. It doesn't work that way. You have to be accountable for your choices and sacrifice based on your choices. That's accountability, and that's being what? A constructive, uncursed adult. The other example, the Most High said what? Remember Lot's wife. He did everything he could to get her out the city. He didn't leave her behind because her mind was still in Sodom and Gomorrah. She looked back and turned into a pillar of salt. And you know what? You can use those examples for either side, husband or wife. It doesn't, listen, we're supposed to be equally yoked. Now, there are examples. Now, if someone is straight out dealing with witchcraft, sorcery, they're dealing with idolatry, they're worshiping Satan, you go downstairs and there's a Pentagon on fire in your basement. Okay, those are grounds. Okay. Those are grounds. Okay. You're not under bondage in such cases. But we can't use every little example of disagreement as a reason to walk away from our righteous responsibility as a nation. Now, let's go down to a few of these calls real quick. And we're going to start off with Bishop Balas. Shalom, you're live on Blog Talk, Balas, an unrighteous thinking of a slave. Talk to me. Shalom.
Praise the Most High, the highest. I just want to say that the spirit is definitely moving. You bring in all different kind of aspects to the Willie Lynch letter that I never thought about, and I'm sure many others didn't think about. What's really profound to me that where the Most High is giving you the spirit to talk about is the opposite of what is happening to our community, where the power is, where they took the power away, which means we still have that power. We still possess that power.
Exactly.
And we can still operate in that power. So a lot of people don't bring that, or they don't bring that opposing side to say, listen, if they took it from us, we still have it to operate in. And that's really uplifting to say that we still have it, that we still have the spirit to produce for ourselves, and not just bring out the Willie Lynch letter to downgrade each other, but also show the opposition. So I just wanted to say thank you.
Hey, Balas, the example.
Never thought of it like that.
Listen, I never thought of it like this, but I'm conversating with you real quick, right? When I look at our sisters, right, and look, I'm looking at the battle. I'm gonna deal with the sister and the brothers, right? We have sisters saying, well, listen, I gotta wear weave and I gotta do this because of the example that the white women is given for beauty, and men are only running to white women and this, that, and the other. And so what that's showing is what? A level of insecurity that she's blaming on what's going on in her time, in her modern time. She's never related those insecurities as something inherited from her programming from her mother, right? But we look at this and say, well, sister, you don't have to be insecure. You was made to think that way. They focused on turning you, knowing that if they could control you, the whole world economics would be built off of your strength. So you're feeling insecure when there wouldn't be a society built in this earth without you. So why are you insecure again? They didn't focus on a white woman to build this. They focused on turning you. Why are you concerned? Why are you trying to be like her now? And if a brother don't want you, he don't deserve you. Don't change your righteousness and virtue for flesh. Don't turn who you are and who God made you, because you know who you are. You know your worth. You're just upset that men don't appreciate it. But don't change who you are. The Most High loved you. He made you the way you are. You are the strength of this earth. And they focused on turning you first. So you don't have to feel insecure. Know your history. These insecurities didn't start with just your mother. This was a mindset that was programmed in you to stop you from bearing a nation, an army against our slave masters. You have no reason to be insecure. You are the woman. Stop trying to compare yourself to the low examples being shown in this wicked world. Your hair don't have to be like theirs. You don't have to look at them. And if any man do look at them as less than you, the Most High is only pointing out men that don't deserve you. Thank you, Balas. Let's go to the next one.
I just want to build on that because I want to build on that.
Yes.
Let me build on it. Proverbs 31, virtuous woman. And
Yes.
I didn't think about it to the aspect of that the presentation. I mean, a Proverbs 31 woman shows a woman that will go through the rain or snow for her family. She's a merchant. She builds the household. All the things that you're mentioning right now is giving power to the sisters, and in observation, from church to church, from sisterhood to sisterhood, in observation, they do Proverbs 31. They sow. They find things to purchase for the household that would keep it healthy. Everything that you're saying to economically make a standpoint for the individual. Proverbs 31 woman, 31:10, a virtuous woman. It's there. That power, it's letting us know where a virtuous woman would stand, and that it would bring a whole nother level to our houses individually. When we take the power that they took away.
Yes.
And say, our virtuous women stand strong.
Yes.
And build us. And
yes.
But they do already. That's what I want to say. I want to say they do.
You cut out. I'll bring you back in a moment. You cut out. We got Brother Josh from Pennsylvania. I'll bring you back in a second. Brother Josh, you're live on Blog Talk. You're live on YouTube with the Gathering of Christ Church. We're going to give you one or 2 minutes. Talk to us. After that, we have the 267 area code. Talk to us.
How you doing? I had a question about the books we need in this spiritual fight we're in. I got a list here, and I just want you to tell me if there's anything I need to add to the arsenal. Got the Holy Bible, original King James Version, the Apocrypha, the Book of Jubilees, Jasher, Enoch, the Testaments of the 12 Patriarchs, the Pseudepigrapha, the Septuagint, the Dead Sea Scrolls, the Torah, and the Tanakh. That's everything I got. Should we go into that? And is there anything else we should go into?
Yeah, make sure you get yourself a Josephus.
Okay.
The complete,
Josephus. Is there anything else that...
The Complete Works of Josephus Unabridged. Make sure you get yourself a Zondervan Bible Dictionary, the old edition.
Okay.
And a Strong's Concordance.
And get yourself, I'm about to say it, a Strong's Concordance of the Hebrew and Greek.
An exhaustive.
Okay.
Okay, that's it.
Okay, thank you, sir.
You're welcome. Bless you. I'll place you on hold. Okay. We have 267 area code. Shalom, you're live on Blog Talk also.
Hey, shalom, Elder.
Shalom, we live on YouTube. We got 2 minutes. Talk to us, sister.
Okay, shalom, Sister Rakam from Pennsylvania. This is a beautiful broadcast today. Wonderful topic. I remember a couple months back, you guys did a similar, probably about a year back, broadcast when we were talking a lot about men versus women. So just a very short testimony just to bear witness to what you're bringing out. When me and my husband first came into the truth, we were definitely suffering from the very curses or captive mentalities that you were reading about in the Willie Lynch syndrome, because my husband was at home not doing anything, and I was out working hard, resenting him. I mean, just that very spirit, and there was so much strife and debate in the home with that alone. And when the truth came in, it puffed me up even more, and I became haughty towards him, because I'm like, you're not lining up to what a righteous man is at all. But the Most High chastised me into humility to see that it wasn't just him who was at fault, but it was also me, because I didn't humble myself. I didn't take the wisdom that he gave to me first and say, okay, let me come in the spirit of humility and love so I can show this to the man who's in my life. And I want to tell the brothers and sisters that it is possible to break the curse. It's not easy, but it is possible, because once I fell into that spirit of submission and I started to hand over the power of the home to my husband and took the back seat and say, okay, I'm not going to work. I'm going to trust him. I'm going to let him lead. And it was hard and still is. I find myself constantly fighting off the slave mentality. That's why I'm thankful for this broadcast, because it was a reminder to me of what that other voice is that keeps coming back and saying, oh, you need to get a job. Like if I see him make a mistake or an error in finances that I know I wouldn't make, oh, you got to go out, you got to get a job, you got to go out and work. He's not going to be able to handle this. But that's that slave mentality that was instilled in me for so long, trying to come back. So I thank the Most High for this broadcast to remind me that the way that we're walking in now, although it's difficult, we have to press our way, it's of the Most High. And it's not going to be easy, because I'm in Satan's kingdom. So, of course, all things are going to be against me when I'm trying to build a household on righteousness. So I wanted to encourage brothers and sisters, especially, of course, the sisters, to say don't use the excuse of the fact that he's doing wrong or not in his position to say why you can't do it. Like Elder brought out, that's definitely a part of the captive mentality. And if you were to humble yourself and say, you know what, if the Most High wrote this and these are his words and he commanded me to be this way, it's not impossible for me to do it. So let me stop looking at him and just reflect inwardly. And your husband or your partner at that time, they'll see that change in you, because him seeing me change is what made him be like, hold up a minute. Let me check out what she's getting into. Because this was the woman who was bad-mouthing me and putting me down, and she just had the money. I got to work, and now she's talking about homeschooling. What's going on here? So I just want to encourage the sisters and let the brothers and sisters know that this paradigm can be broken. And just back to that topic we had a couple days ago, this is definitely one of those things that are needed to make Israelites great again. And it is definitely what our captives and the enemy is afraid of. Because I'm telling you, I saw changes in my home that I couldn't even describe in words, just from strictly submitting to the will of the Most High in the way that the structure of the home should be. I have peace. There's no variance. There's no debate. There's no confusion, because now we both know where we stand, and we can support one another in staying in those positions. If we see one another falling weak in an area, it's like, wait a minute, hold on. That's not your role. Let's remember what we're trying to build here. I mean, it's a beautiful thing. So just want to put out some encouragement to the brothers and sisters and tell you guys that we can do it. We can stand together, and if you get with the body, there's support there. I have elder sisters there that when I start to fall weak in areas as a woman, I can reach out to them and they build me up. They instruct me according to the word. My husband has our bishop and also the elders of the church as examples and encouragement. So the help is there. We are at the point in this earth and last day and time where the excuses are out the window.
Thank
so I just
you.
want to put there, Elder Bawada, for the broadcast, and shalom.
Hey, sister, profound. I congratulate you overcoming the curse that was placed over us. And you know what? It's inspiring. Thank you, sister. Bless you.
All praises, all praises.
All right.
Shalom.
I would like to read one thing, and then we're going to give our last comments, and I'll read a few messages on the board. I would like to conclude in the matter, and I'm going to give it to everyone. Everyone have their last word after this. With the Most High, the Lord's covenant of peace. Captivity and slavery is a direct result of war that began with us being disobedient to the God who made us, the God of Israel. Ahia is his name. But now he's calling us to peace. He's willing to take the curse off of us altogether if we're willing to walk in the light and no longer use excuses. The Lord's covenant, Ezekiel 34:25. Let me read this. And I will make them a covenant of peace, and I will cause the evil beast to cease out of the land, and they shall dwell safely in the wilderness and sleep in the woods. And I will make them and the places round about my hill a blessing, and I will cause the shower to come down in its season. There shall be showers of blessings. And the tree of the field shall yield her fruit, and in their land, and the earth shall yield her increase, and they shall be safe in their land, and shall know that I am the Most High, when I have broken the bands of their yoke, and delivered them out of the hand of those that serve themselves of them, like Willie Lynch and those. And they shall no more be a prey to the heathen, neither shall the beasts of the land devour them, but they shall dwell safely, and none shall make them afraid. No more fear or insecurities amongst our nation. And I will raise up for them a plant of renown, and they shall be no more consumed with hunger in the land, neither bear the shame of the heathen anymore. Thus shall they know that I, the Lord, their God, Ahia, is with them, that they, even the house of Israel, are my people, saith the Most High God. And ye flock, the flock of my pasture, are men, not boys, not slaves, not feminized servants. That the flock of my pasture are men, and I am your God, saith the Most High God, Ahia, the God of the Bible. He's calling men to stand in our responsibility and accountability. Men, let's start with you. Okay? No longer accept a woman less than virtue. It's going to be problems for you in the future. More problems than you can handle. You're going to regret that decision. No one's perfect yet, but you have to make sure that if you are a man of the Most High, you lay down God's rules while courting, while talking with her. And if she don't comply, walk away. That's going to be a problem. Doesn't matter what her body looks like, what her face looks like, because guess what? She'll get old. Wisdom will never fade away, but the flesh decays. She's not worth it. There's some woman somewhere that has it all for you. Okay? That the Most High have ready for a righteous, patient man. Sisters, don't think you can change an unlawful person that you've just met based on the length of it, the size of his biceps or his neck length or his shoulders. Don't think you can change a man because he looks like you want him to look into a righteous man. Well, I thought he was nice, and I thought, listen, how many people we must go through before we realize it's not the Most High who keeps sending you the wrong person. It's you keep choosing the wrong person. And if you choose the wrong person, 9 times out of 10, the guy the Most High had for you probably was a week away. He probably was not too long away. Set your standards and understand what shame is. Don't lower the Most High standards for no one. We have to stop trying to make people be what we hope they'll be. The children are watching. They're going to make the choices their parents made. I'm going to say it again. Every action is a learning experience for a child. They will make the same choices of their parents because what? Curses is learned behavior. Willie Lynch said it forth. Okay? And it's true. If we instill this, these curses will work within themselves. Mm. I'm not waiting for no one else outside of us to break the curse. We have to up our standards. We have to understand what shame is. We got to stop accepting the liberal status quo and call it shame. Hmm. Call it what it is. Let's set a standard. And by doing so, and that, now when you're in that particular space, praying to the Most High, he'll answer. If there's a help meet needed, he'll send him. He'll send her. He'll send that person. But it first starts with us being accountable and standing firm with him. Okay? Let's stop selling ourselves short. Mm-hmm. Why? This is why. Because when I look at pictures like this, let me pull it up again, acting out like this, we have failed these boys. It's all of us. We have failed them. We are the priest. We are the judges. We are the honorable men. This curse, what we're seeing here, is a prime example of a cursed people without protection, without real men to protect them. This activity is our failure. That's our failure. It's our fault. That's our sister. That's our daughter. Last word.
Not much to say other than something that was mentioned earlier too about, I think Elder Gadja mentioned it about, what was it? The Royal Nation?
Yeah.
Broadcast. And in relation to what I was saying earlier and what this whole broadcast is basically saying about considering your actions and the end result of your actions. Study the game of chess, linking in with the Royal Nation. Study the game of chess. Even if you don't know how to play it, Just study the game of chess. If we're a royal nation, kings and queens, study the game of chess, right? The king can move certain spots, and there's all these other pieces to protect the king. The king cannot move into a spot where the end result means he's dead, he's taken, or a perverse action. It's illegal. Can't do it in chess, in the game of chess. Study the game of chess. If we're kings and queens, we should not be doing things that mean our demise.
Exactly. And slavery is checkmate.
Right. Right.
Elder Gaja, and after that, Elder Lawyer.
Hey, shalom. Boy, there's nothing really left to say, Elder, man. Powerful broadcast, man. I go back and listen to it again. I'm gonna listen to it again. Kwam Yasha Shalom.
Shalom. And this lesson was called, or this broadcast, The Unrighteous Thinking of a Slave. Like I said, you know what? And at one point, I'm going to tell you this. At one point, I went on this binge, and Gaja will attest to this, and others will attest to this. I went on this binge where I was studying and looking at the actions of those in the so-called conscious community. You understand? It almost became entertaining, but eventually it became sad. Because I see all the biting, the fighting and all that. And I'm like, you know what? It's a shame that their ideology is built off of hating the only solution. And I began to pray for them. Sarnetta and all of them. I just pray that the Most High will open their eyes to the biblical solutions. Because we've tried everything. This world is a product from Christianity and Islam. We've seen what comes from Christianity and Islam. We know someone in our family that's a Christian or a Muslim. And look at our communities. No one is actually following and reading the book as a life map out of slavery. We've never really viewed. We can view the Bible to bang on the white man. We can use the Bible to say we Israel because we are. We can use the Bible for all these different, reasons. But what makes us different than the Christians if we don't use the Bible that says that a curse came upon us to undo the curse? What good is it? We can use the Bible for all that. Okay, it must have the answer out of this, right? It does. No longer will we make excuses. No longer as a Christian will I look at the Bible and say, you know what? I can't keep the law. I'm going to look at the Bible as a Christian now and say, you know what? Let me read the laws and see how hard they are to keep. Let me try. See, that's accountability. At least the Lord will say, well, okay, you tried. No more excuses and being dismissive. Okay? Look at the Bible as an individual and say, and stop saying, Lord, none of us are perfect. I'm waiting for my change or this thing of, I'm not ready yet because you're doing something against the Bible. Stop it. You're the reason. We're the reason servitude continues. No more excuses. Let's turn all the way back to the Most High. Let's come all the way back. Let's do it. He's waiting. Elder Lawyer.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes.
Going back to something you mentioned earlier, dealing with just using this as an example, with the image of the young lady that you were mentioning, and in showing that image, you made a statement that we cannot. Well, basically, you stated that we failed this young sister.
Yeah.
And I think that one thing, first and foremost, we that are in the truth, no matter how much knowledge we attain, no matter how righteous we think we've become, one thing we can never do is separate ourselves from the ills of our people, because they are a representation. If we have light, if we have the truth, then the rest of our nation are a reflection of us.
Exactly.
So we have to learn, as Christ said. He said, "No man that have light putteth his candle under a bushel." He says, "Let your light shine before men." So if our nation is still suffering under these curses, they're still in a never-ending cycle, then we have to take some part of the responsibility for that.
Yeah.
And the last thing I wanted to mention is going into one of the solutions, one of the many solutions that I think was mentioned earlier, as far as seeking the Most High. And if you don't seek the Most High, then you don't have a voice, you don't have a right to even speak towards how to fix the issues, because without the Most High, there is no fixing issues.
Exactly.
And I want to read this last scripture here in the book of James, chapter 1, verse number 4. It says, "But let patience have her perfect work, that ye may be perfect and entire, wanting nothing." So when it comes to our decision making as a nation, when it comes to us trying to prevent making decisions that keep us in that continual cycle, one thing we must learn is patience. And I think Shapat mentioned this earlier, making decisions while considering the consequence. And one thing about that image is that the people who put that image up did not think about the consequences. The only thing they thought about was instant gratification. They thought about getting this young woman attention. They didn't think that this would destroy or bring shame to their household. They didn't think that, hey, maybe there's a pedophile out there that may look at this image and now desire to have this young girl. They didn't consider anything before putting up this image. And that's just one example to show that a lot of the things we do as a nation that keep us in this continual cycle are things that we do rashly and in haste for instant gratification. We have to learn to have patience. It says here in verse number 5, "If any of you lack wisdom, let him ask the Most High, that giveth to all men liberally and upbraideth not, and it shall be given him. But let him ask in faith, nothing wavering. For he that wavereth is like the wave of the sea, driven and tossed. But let no man that think that he shall receive anything of the Lord. A double-minded man is unstable in all his ways." It's time to overcome the double-mindedness and seek at the Most High's mouth the solutions to the problems we face. The more we continue to deal in haste, the more we can continue to not consider the error of our ways and the consequences of our actions, we're going to stay in this state as a slave people with a misunderstanding on how to overcome everything that we've faced up until this point. And with that, I want to say bless you all and shalom.
Bless you, brother, and bless you all. And I'll talk with you soon. I'll call you a little later, all right?
Absolutely.
All right, Thwada for helping out.
Praise the Most High.
I'm about to sing out, so you can play it out real quick. I'm gonna sing out.
Ooh.
Shalom. I'm gonna sing out.
To Zion. I was lost, but now I'm found. I'm a child of Israel. I heard the sound. You hear the sound.
Are you seeking to strengthen your biblical foundation? Join us in the Hebrew Bible Academy, where we offer 12 weeks of in-depth learning in a structured environment. Receive real-time news from Brother Shapat and amazing lessons by Elder Ricard. Learn ancient Hebrew with Elder Lawyer. With 12 amazing lessons, you're guaranteed to learn more about your true biblical history and authentic Hebrew language than you would in a traditional Christian church, for only a one-time payment of $150 or 3 monthly payments of $50. Join us at historytimes.org and sign up today. It's not too late. See you in the academy.